This week we're going to work on the doors, the windows, the columns, and all of the molding that's on the arch walls here. I had a pretty good research photograph of the doors, which are oversized wood paneled doors. The windows are a little more elusive, but between this photograph and this photograph was able to sort of make an educated guess as to what the windows look like. And of course there's lots of research for the columns. So let's switch over to Vectorworks, and these are our 3D modeled windows and doors. We're going to create these as 3D objects first, and then we'll turn them into 2D, 3D hybrid symbols that can be inserted into the walls, just like the standard door and window symbols can be. And I'm making these in a new file. I'm going to cut and paste them into last week's fountain file once I'm done. So we will start with the window. It's based on this shape, so we'll create that first and then extrude it. So I'm going to start with a 24-inch wide by 3-inch high top toggle, and then a side piece that's 3 inches wide and 8 feet 6 tall. I'm going to duplicate that and change its width to 1.5 inches. I'm going to duplicate the top and change its height to 14.25. And then I'm going to duplicate this again and change its height to 1.5 inches. And then they're going to be 2 of these evenly spaced. So I'm going to put one right here just for spacing purposes, and another one here, the top of it aligned with the bottom for spacing purposes. And then I'm going to put the 2 that I actually want somewhere here in the center, and then select all 4 of them and do a modify, align distribute. I want to align the left side of them, and I'm going to distribute them by spacing. Actually, I think I'll align the center of them because I know that the center, the top and the bottom are actually aligned up at the center. So align the center and then distribute the spacing. So then you can delete this one and this one, which were just used as markers. Then if we select all of that and do add surface, we'll put all that together. These rectangles are 8.25 square, so 8.25, 8.25. Oops, I'm going to put this in the corner, and then it's 3 inches over and 3 inches up. So modify, move, 3 inches over, 3 inches up, duplicate it, put this one here, and we can move it over 3 inches, or we can just line it up with the edge right here. So I'm going to choose to do that. So I'm going to put that there. And then we need to create this shape. So I'm going to start with a 6-inch deep rectangle that goes to the center there. So tab, -6. I'm going to use the polygon tool to just rough in this shape. So there's going to be a point here, a point here, a point here, a point here, and a point there. Let's see if I can. So I'm skipping the second point for right now. I'm going to put that there, here, and maybe here. I'm going to go to the reshape tool. I'm going to add a corner point here. Then I will switch to curve, and we're gonna that and that to sort of get the bottom shape there. Then we're gonna pull out this shape and go to there. That seems like a pretty good approximation of this. What I didn't do is I didn't leave the space there. I could just move this if I want to. I might actually, if I'm going to do that, I might actually move this too. So we'll make that a little smaller. We'll bring this down a little bit. Since this is half a curve, we'll adjust that so that it's like that. Then I'm going to use the mirror tool to flip it like that. See if I got close. That's pretty close. I mean, obviously I could just trace mine, but so then I will use the polygon tool again to just draw this shape, and then set that, whoops, to none. And then select all three of these shapes and do a modify compose. And then once I've done that, I can add all of that together. So that is step one. Step two is we'll do some solid subtraction to route the edges. So we'll extrude this an inch. Model extrude 1 inch. Okay. I'm going to go to isometric for a second. I need this curve that we created in order to use it to do an extrude along path for the solid subtraction. So I'm going to use the extract tool in the 3D tool set. So extract, and I want to extract curve, which is number 2. So I'm going to click here on all of the parts. I'm holding down shift on all of the parts of this curve. So each one of the curved parts is going to be its own separate part. And then once I have the whole thing, I'm going to check, and that creates a group. So I'm going to go into the group, and you'll see I have 11 NURBS curves, and they're still selected. If they're not selected, you can always just select them. Then we're going to do a compose. So modify compose, and you'll see now that we have a NURBS curve. It composed all of those 11 curves into one single curve. Then I can exit the group and ungroup. Back to front, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this rectangle and this rectangle, and then the shape that we're going to extrude in order to create this route. And this is a 1/4 inch route, so we're going to do a 1/2 inch circle. So diameter 0.5. That seems really tiny. You know what? Let's do a diameter of 1. Let's do a 1/2 inch route. What the heck? And I'm going to duplicate that. So I have 3 of them. I'm going to take that one and select this curve, which may be a little tricky. So here, let's do that. Select that curve and this circle, and model extrude along path. Okay. And then we'll do these two fine. It's okay that they're different. I'll explain why. And then we'll do these two. Okay, then we're going to go to wireframe and shift to left. And the first one actually is in the right place because when we extracted the curve extracted right on the face of the window. The other two squares, rectangles that we drew were at the back, so we just need to grab this and move it to there. And grab this and move it to there. Now if we go back to left isometric and back to OpenGL, you can see what we have. So we're going to select all three of these and the window itself, and then do a model subtract solids. And we want to subtract from the entire window. So if we click OK, then we get that. So far so good. These are exactly the same. They're a solid subtraction, and then they have an added panel in the front. So they are actually subtracted from this shape, which is, let's see what this shape is. Whoa, it's a 1/4 inch there. 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch. So if we draw a rectangle that's 1 inch by 3/4 of an inch. So width of 1 inch, height of 3/4 of an inch there. And then I'm going to draw 2 1/4 inch rectangles. There are a bunch of different ways of getting this shape, but this is the way I'm going to choose today. We duplicated that. Then we can use the polygon tool to draw that shape. Okay. Wireframe, so we can see these are rectangles that we already drew. And before we extrude along path for these, I want to create these raised panels that are in the center. So I just want to see what this distance is. This distance is 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so we're going to use our offset tool at 1/4 of an inch to just create that rectangle, and then I'm going to use the option key to the command key on the Mac to select this one and then do the same thing there. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I can line these up exactly with the path, so I'm going to shift to left for a minute and do a modify rotate left, and then I'm going to shift to left isometric, and I want to line this up just like this, and I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that and line this one up over here like that. So then I can grab this one and the larger rectangle and do a model extrude along path, and now I want to fix the profile. So we click OK, we'll get that shape, and then if we do the same thing here, model extrude along path, okay, we'll get that shape. Back to front, we're going to select both of those and our window. Actually, you know what, I'm going to go back to left isometric so we can see what's going on here. So we have both of those selected and the window. Then if we do a model subtract solids, we're subtracting from the entire window. We'll click OK. Oh, I subtracted them from the back. So we're going to switch to left for a second and wireframe. Because the the original rectangular shapes were drawn on the plane. So we just need to unselect everything and then select all these things and move them to. No, now I'm really need to move them to align to the front of the window. There we go, like that. Okay. Sorry about that. Now we'll select this one and the window, and model, subtract solids, and if we go into OpenGL, we should see that we have, well, if I make these definite fill, then you'll see that we have this shape. The panels in the center stick out too far. That's the reason for the extra rectangles. We're going to do another solid subtraction. So if I grab, it looks like I actually made these two too big, but it doesn't really make any difference. All I'm using them for is I'm going to cut down the size of these. So we're going to do a model extrude of 3/8 of an inch, which is half of 3/4. And then if we switch, you can see what's going on there. I'm going to go to wireframe. So we're going to drag this back so that it's flush with the front of the window. If I go back to left isometric and OpenGL and then make those solid, you can see what's going on. So that I'm going to use those and the door, the overall window, sorry, and do a model subtract solids, which is just cut down these panels so they don't stick out so far, basically. So back to front, and there we have our completed window sash. Actually, one more part. We need to put the curtains in the windows. The curtains are just an image. So the first thing we'll do is create this texture. So go to the resource manager, and I already have one, but I'll make another one. RenderWorks texture, create. I'm gonna do white curtains 2. Oops, 2. The color is an image. You want to use the image that's on web courses. That's called white curtains PNG, which is just a slightly cleaned up in Photoshop picture of a curtain from a catalog. Okay, and it's going to be 24 inches wide. You can leave everything else the same. Then if we go back to here and then just create a rectangle that covers the entire window and extrude it, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch. It doesn't have to be very deep. And then apply the white curtain texture to it. You may have to adjust the mapping so that it's rotated 90 degrees. And then you'll notice it starts in the center here, so I'm going to go ahead and change the offsets to 0 so that it starts at the top. It seems that I have scaled it up over here. So let's try making this 1.5 and then adjusting the offsets again. Still looks too big. About 1.25. 1.1. Oh, so close. 1.15. There we go. Okay, now, finally. And I'm not putting glass in this window. If I was going for ultra realism, I could put a sheet of glass in here, but and use the glass texture. Ultimately, that's just going to reflect in the rendering, And I don't really want that, so we're just going to ignore the glass. But if you wanted to put glass, you'd do exactly the same thing. You'd just extrude a rectangle, put it behind the window, make that a glass texture. And then the final thing is we need to apply the wood texture. So let's see what that is. And you're looking for wood, Arrowway Wood 87 Corberyl, maybe? And then you'll need to rotate that 90 degrees. Okay, so there we have our window. Oh, and it's got the same problem. The wood textures in Vectorworks for some unknown reason are not seamless, so you can see where they seam, which is super irritating. So sometimes you can solve that by just changing the offset. Yes, which means that it starts not in the middle somewhere, but it starts at the top. So that seemed to solve the problem. So there is our completed shutter now, and then we're going to just turn this into a symbol. So we're good. This symbol is made up of symbols inside a symbol. So we're going to modify, create symbol, and we're going to call this window shutter, or window sash rather. Window sash. I bet I already have one. Yep. So I'm going to call mine window sash 2. I do not want to insert it in the walls. Everything else we'll change the insertion point to 3D Object Center. Everything else we can leave the same. And we're going to put it in the scenery symbols folder. So, okay. There we have the sash. So we need to have 2 sashes, so we're going to grab that one and use the mirror tool to make the other one. And then we need to create a frame, a casing around the window, so we're going to use the double line tool set to 0.75 to simulate a 1x8. We're going to draw, I always put this one on the wrong side. I need the third control mode. Just going to draw a 3/4 inch wide frame around the entire window. Then we're going to extrude that 8 inches. We'll go to top. And of course that wants to be like that, and I actually want the window to sit back, let's say 2 inches from the face of the frame. So we're just going to move the frame forward 2 inches. Modify move. So -2, 0, so like that. We need to apply the same wood to that frame. Then we need to put molding around the window. So we're going to use this piece of molding. It's in Web Courses. So we're just going to draw this shape. I drew it to the outside of the frame. Of course, it actually should go to the inside of the frame. So, or in real life, the molding usually actually doesn't go right to the edge of the frame. It usually is in this about 1/4 inch back to create just one more step, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to go straight to the inside of the frame. So right there. And then just so I can see what I'm doing, I'm going to nudge this down a little bit. and move it out of the way. I could have used automatic working plane to make sure that I'm actually drawing right where I want this, but for me, it's just as easy just to move it when I'm done. So I'm gonna, let's see, switch to left and, whoops, modify, rotate left the piece of molding. While I'm here, I might as well just go ahead and line this up with the front of the window. So then back to isometric. Now this is flipped backwards. So I want to go, I just went to front, or sorry, top, modify, rotate, flip vertical. So we went like that. And we're going to line it up like this. So once all of that is done, if we do a model straight along path, we want to fix the profile, we want that to be the path, click OK, and there we have that. And then we can line this up so that it is right there. And then we want to apply the same wood. Go on to the home, apply the same wood, the front. Do we have an extra, what's the white thing? I bet we have an extra 2D, or maybe you don't, but I do have an extra 2D rectangle in there somewhere, or did something just not get? If I move the curtain, oh yeah, the curtains are just in the window. Okay, it's easy to solve. So I just went to top. When I extruded the curtains, I should have extruded them backwards rather than forwards. So this is the day you get to see all of my mistakes. So what happened was the curtains were here. They were inside the door. So they just need to be behind the door. So if we go back to here, that should solve that problem. All right. Much better. And because it's a symbol, of course, it solved it in both places. Okay, so now we just need to add the windowsill. So let's see what that actually looks like, because I don't really remember. So we're going to draw a rectangle that is 3 1/4 by 2. We're going to do a 1-inch spacer. So we're going to draw a line that's at a 60, or it's going to read 150, but a 60-degree angle. Clip. Get rid of that. And this and that. There we have our shape. And back to front for a second. We need to extrude that, whatever this entire width is. So 5 feet 3 1/4. Actually, we can just use that line I just drew. So we'll put this right here and then just extrude that along that path. Model, extrude along. Go to OpenGL and put this right here. At the front. There we go. Okay, then apply the wood texture to it. And of course it's going in the wrong direction. So we're going to rotate that 90 degrees. There we have our finished window. We'll set that aside, work on the door, and then we'll turn them both into symbols. So next we're going to work on the door. The door is perhaps a little bit easier to build, but it's somewhat more complicated to lay out because of all these squares, or rectangles rather, but we'll we'll give it a shot. So we're going to start by laying out the overall door size, which is 26 by 10 feet. So 30 inches by 10 feet. Okay. And then in order to aid in drawing and placing all these rectangles, I'm going to create a grid for myself. There are a couple different ways you could do this. You could make the rectangles and then move them to place them, but I think what I'm about to do is the easiest or the fastest, at least way to do it. So draw this rectangle, tab, -3, and then I'm just going to duplicate that until I get down to the center of the door. So something along in there, I think. Then in the other direction, we're going to do a slightly more eccentric version of this, but so tab 3. So I'm going to do 3, and then I'm going to do 6. And then 3 again. And then I'm going to mirror that to the other side. Whoa. What the? That was very strange. And then I'm also going to duplicate the 3 and put it in the center. So in reality, we have a 1.5 here in the middle. So we're going to set all that to none and make it all, I think, probably red, any color but black, so that we can distinguish between the grid and the things that we're actually creating. So 3 is all the way down, then 3, 6, 3, 1.5 inch, 3, 1.5 inch, 3, 6, 3. That's what I just made. So then I can just use that grid to draw these rectangles. This would be like that. This would be like that. This one's going to be there. We've got a 6-inch square. 6-inch square, 2 of these rectangles. Then when it gets down to here, it's a little bit funkier. I think that's as far as I can go with, so just so you see what I have so far. There's that, which I believe is correct. So then there's this space, and then these are actually 4.5. So it goes here minus 4.5. So 6 by 4.5 is what's happening there. So there's that. And then this is rotate it this way, so you can just copy it and rotate it, or you can use the mirror tool to do that. And this drawing is slightly off. These little squares should be duplicated up here because the door is symmetrical, and these are 2 1/4. So I'm just going to draw a square that's 2 1/4. 2.25, 2.25, and put it right there, and then another one over here. And then this is 9 inches by 9 inches. 9 inches by 9 inches. Gonna line the center of it right there, actually right there, and then move it down 3. Just so we can tell what's going on. We'll make all of these red. Okay, so that should be, if I delete this, select all of these, cross your fingers, and mirror these like that. There we have the rectangle layout. So then I can make these not red. Doesn't really matter what color they are, but so there's our first rectangle layout. The second rectangle layout is slightly easier. We need to create rectangles inside these to use as the extrusions to cut the panels down the same way we did on the windows. Fortunately, Vectorworks will let us do all of this with one click. So if you select them all and go to the offset tool, we're gonna do a distance of, I think, ½ an inch, and then click inside one of them. Click inside one of them, and it will offset to the inside of all of them. And then I'm going to group all of those together. So that was step 2. Now, then I'm also going to group the other set. So I just selected everything, and now I'm going to deselect the first group, and then I'm going to group the first set, which send it to front. So I'm gonna send that back to behind the first group. Next step is to extrude the door itself. So we're gonna extrude the door. Doors are usually about 1.25 inches thick, so 1.25. And do I positive or negative? Let's go negative. I'm not sure that it matters, but so minus 1.25. The next thing we have to do is the tedious part of this. We've got to create the same extrude along path for all of these and subtract them the same way we did for the window. Fortunately, there are only a couple of different sizes of this, so we can do a lot of duplicating. So we need to recreate our shape from before, which was 1 inch, 3/4, and 1/4 and 1/4. You already know how to make it, so I'm just gonna. I probably should have told you to duplicate it from the last project, or from the window rather. Sorry about that. So now we need to identify the ones of these that we need to do. So this rectangle is 1, this square is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are really only 6 sizes that we need to worry about. So we're gonna grab this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Copy, exit group, paste. And then if we go into left view, you're not going to have all this stuff in your way. Modify, rotate left, and then it's a left isometric. Then just line this up. Okay, to make this a little easier, I'm going to set the fill of all of these things to none. And then I think, just not so as not to tempt fate, I'm going to put all of these in the center of the rectangle. So I'm going to duplicate that, put this point right there like that. Okay, then I should just be able to extrude along path. Next we can take these and line them up, the front face of it with the rectangle where it goes on the door. You'll see that disappeared behind the rectangle, but that's okay. If we do this in wireframe, it'll be a little easier. Then I can duplicate that and put it here. Here, duplicate that, rotate left. Oops, now I can't, I just did something you can't do. I tried to rotate left in isometric. So I have to go to front and then rotate left. And then back to isometric. If we place that there. Here. And finally there. Okay, so far so good. Gonna delete my larger group if I can grab it. Not this group, but the group that's, oh, there it is. I'm going to get rid of that group. Oh, look, this got moved. Let's put that there. It's this group that I want to delete. Then I can grab all of these and I can do a mirror. They're all right there. I'm going to select all of those and all of these and this. And isometric just so I can see the magic happen. I'm going to open GL and then do, now's a good time to save because if it was going to crash, now is when it would happen. This appears to be different than all the others, so which indicates that this one, the one that got moved, is not placed correctly. So I'm gonna go to left and make sure that it's back in line with all of the others. Yours, you may not have had that problem, but so select all of this, deselect this group of 2D things, back to OpenGL, see that they all look the same. And they're doing this little weird thing that indicates that they're occupying the same space as the door, which is actually good because we're about to subtract them from the door, so that means that they're in the right place. So if we do model, subtract solids, okay, let it think for a minute. Good. So that now this we can we're gonna extrude this 3/8 of an inch. We can't extrude a group; it won't let us do that. So we can either ungroup it, or and then extrude it all, or we can go into the group and extrude it. So I'm just gonna ungroup it, leaving it all selected, and do a model extrude minus 3/8, and then go to left and wireframe and make sure that they correspond to the surface of the door, which it does. And so we're going to have that selected and the door selected and do a model subtract solids. And that should cut down our panels so they're not sticking out so far the same way that we did with the window. We should add the wood texture. I'm going to make this go the other way, and then I'm going to tell you about something that irritates me that can't be fixed. So we're going to rotate this 90 degrees. We're going to rotate this 90 degrees. And go to front. If you have any experience in woodworking, you know the way that this door would actually be made is not out of a solid sheet of wood. It would be constructed kind of like a flat, where this would be a piece and this would be a piece and then this would be molding. So the wood grain would all not be going in the same direction. The stiles on the sides of the door would be, the wood grain would be going up and down, and in the rails in the middle it would be going left and right. There's no way to do that, and unless you created a custom texture in Photoshop and laid all the wood out going in the right direction. So ultimately, this at the scale of our model, it's not going to really affect anything. But if you're doing something where the wood, you really need the wood grain going in the right direction, and the wood itself is, you know, in different pieces, and it would be going in different directions, the only way to really deal with that is to create a custom texture that has all the wood grain going in the right direction. So at any rate, that's that. So now that this is created, I think I'm gonna, I could go one of two ways here. I could turn this into a symbol or not. I think since we did it for the window, I'm just gonna go ahead and turn it into a symbol. So we're gonna modify, create symbol. We're gonna call this door shutter. I already have one, so 2. You don't need to do the 2. Symbol scenery, yes. There should be 2 doors, so we're going to, we don't have to mirror it, they're identical, so we can just duplicate it and do that. So there's that. Then we need to create the frame around the door jamb. So we're going to go back to our double line tool, set 3/4 of an inch, just like it was for the window. And we're going to draw a frame around the door. Double click. Model extrude 8 inches. 8. Okay. We're going to go to top plan. And this is closed. The door should actually be at the back of the frame because doors almost always open into the room that they're part of. And since we're outside these rooms, we're in the lobby, the doors would all open in. So that means that they would be pretty much at the back of the frame. Okay, so there's that. So we're going to apply the wood to that. We need to create the same molding that we did on the window. I unfortunately already used my shape, so I'm just gonna double click here and go into edit my door that I have. I'm gonna double click on my 3D on my extrude along path and go to the profile and copy it. And paste it right there. So I'll line this up. Hey, the cat's back. And then I'm going to draw a rectangle. I think I will use automatic this time and make sure it's aligned to the front of my door jamb. Isometric, just so I can see what's going on. Extrude along path. Select path. Fix the profile. Say OK. Apply some wood. All right. really close to being done with the door. The last thing is there's this pesky door handle. The door handle is made up of 3 parts. There's an extruded disc that then has a little fillet on it. There's an extrude along path, that's the metal shaft here, and then this porcelain part is just a sweep. So let's make those. Look, conveniently, I've already made a circle that is 2 inches in diameter. So we have a 2-inch diameter circle. We're going to make a rectangle that is 6 inches long, and I think half an inch high. And then we're gonna make a polygon that's the shaft that's, I don't know, about like that. None of this is super precise. So then I'm gonna use the fillet, the 2D fillet, to do a 1/4 inch fillet here, and a 1/4 inch fillet here, and then maybe 1 inch maybe here. Yeah, that seems about right. If you want to do this little divot in the middle to make it look more, I don't know, old style European, you can do that. Honestly, the scale that we're doing the rendering, I don't know that anybody's gonna be able to tell, but basically what that was just a an oval that was sliced into that, and then there may have been a 1/4 inch fillet applied to that, if that even takes. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't even. It does a little bit. Okay, so this needs to be swept. Rotate right. Model sweep. Interesting. Does it have to be on the screen plane, maybe? And then rotate right? Okay, there we go. So it needed to be on the screen plane today. Doesn't seem like it always needs to be on the screen plane, but sigh. Okay. I'll rotate this left to put it back. We're going to extrude this 0.25 inches. I'm going to go into isometric, and then I'm going to do a 3D fillet of 0.25 to round that over. And then to make the shaft, I'm going to do a circle that's 3/8 of an inch, maybe. Yeah, that seems about right. Okay. We'll extrude this along path. Extrude along path. Make sure that's the path. We're not fixing the profile. There we go. Okay, then we'll go to top. Actually, first we'll go left. Modify, rotate right. I know you can't see what's happening, but I just turned that right. So that now if I go to the top, I can line this up, and then I can line this up, and then we can go back to front and line them up in this orientation. So we want the center of that to be there, and this probably should be like, oh, I don't know, like that. So there's, actually if I go the other way, you'll actually be able to see it. There's that. This can stay white. This we can apply some brass to. So render, texture. We don't want to handle it made out of white curtains, although that sounds like it could be interesting. How about just some antique brass? There we go. All right. Which doesn't look like brass right now, but when you're in a RenderWorks mode, it will. So group all this together. Go to top wireframe and put it on the door. And then go to front and make sure that it's in a place where it makes sense, which, just given the layout of the door, is probably right along in there. Door handles in America, contemporary door handles, but particularly contemporary door handles in America are usually about 36 inches above the ground. Door handles in Europe are all over the place. Sometimes they're really low, sometimes they're really high, sometimes they're in the middle of the door. It's all over. But in the photograph of the hotel lobby, it looks like this is about where the doors are. Okay, so now we have created our window, and we've created our door. So the next thing we'll do is turn them into 2D, 3D hybrid symbols that can be actually inserted into the wall. In order to make the symbols work properly, the first thing you need to do is make sure that the bottom of your doors and windows are at 0. So you might just want to align them to the center of the page and then move them left to right a little bit. So the bottom of the doors must be at 0. The next step is to go to top view, select the door. We'll do the door first, it's slightly easier. Modify create symbol. I'm going to call this hotel door. I might have to call it hotel door 2 because I already have one. And we're going to change a couple of the default settings. We want to have the insertion point be the next mouse click, and we do want it to insert into walls, and we want it to insert into walls on edge. You can leave everything else the same. When you click OK, you'll get the bullseye cursor, and what this is asking you is where the insertion point is. And you want the insertion point to be right here, so that the center of the door at the point where the front of the wall would be. So right there, and then you put that in the scenery folder. Next, we want to create the 2D component of the door, so I'm going to double click on the symbol, and I want to edit the 2D component and just draw in whatever you want the 2D to look like. So I'm going to add in the door jamb. I'm going to put in a dashed line here and here. Select them both and make them dashed. I'm going to change the line weight of that to 0.15. Then I'm going to draw the door itself and rotate that about its hinge. And then I'm going to draw the door sweep arc that starts here at the hinge, goes to the center, and then goes to the door, and then that should not be filled. And then finally, I'm going to set the door and the jamb to a darker fill and mirror the door. Actually, I'm going to make this sweep 0.15, and then I'm going to mirror the door sweep like that. Okay, and then when we exit, yes, I have converted the 3D symbol into a hybrid symbol. That's what I was planning to do. So now this is what it looks like in 2D, and this is what it looks like in 3D. And now, because we have it set to insert into a wall, we have another couple of steps. The first thing we want to do is draw a sample wall that we can insert it into. So we'll go to here, the wall tool. We're gonna do the preference is we're going to make an 8-inch thick wall because that's how thick our wall is in the hotel. There, this is just a random wall. It doesn't matter how long it is. You just want something to insert the door into to make sure that this all works. So that if you take this symbol and hover over the door, over the wall, you'll see the wall does indeed turn red, which indicates that it is inserting into the wall. And then if you look at the front, you'll see that it has, in fact, inserted into the wall. Let's just make sure that the wall is tall enough. Let's put that a 12-foot tall wall. There we go. Okay. So if we look at how the door is inserted into the wall, you'll notice that it doesn't break the wall in 3D where we would want. It breaks it at the edge overall boundary of the symbol, which is the molding, not at the door jamb itself. So in order to solve that problem, what we need to do is to right click on the door, and we want to edit 3D wall hole component. So if we go to top and draw a rectangle and then extrude it at the height of the door, which is 10 feet, I think. And you can always edit this. Okay. And then go to front and just make sure that that corresponds with where you would actually like the hole to be. And in fact, we want the hole to be, I need to raise that up 3/4 of an inch because we want the hole to be outside the jamb. And then if we click exit and look at the wall again, now you'll see that it's in the right place in the wall. It broke the wall in 2D in the right place, but if we had included the molding as part of the symbol, it would have, as part of the 2D symbol, it would have broken the wall in 2D at the end of the molding. So if you need to tell it where to break the wall in 2D, if you just edit the 2D and insert a locus, a 2D locus, and you can see I've done that. There's a 2D locus right here, which tells it that this is in fact the place where to break the wall in 2D. I didn't need to do it in this case because the edge of the 2D symbol is where I wanted it to break the wall, but if there was more to the symbol that I didn't, like the molding, that I didn't want to have affect where the wall breaks, I would put the locus there. So there is our 2D, 3D hybrid door that breaks the wall. So we'll do the same thing with the window. We'll select the window and modify, they shouldn't put two M's next to each other. Modify create symbol. We're going to call this hotel window. We're going to leave everything the same. So we want the insertion point to be the next mouse click. We want to insert in wall on edge. Everything else can be the same. And we want the insertion to be the same place. The center of the window at the front of the window, the back of the molding, which is right there. Scenery symbols. Okay. Then we can edit the 2D portion by double clicking and telling it we want to edit the 2D portion, and we'll do basically the same thing we did with the window, with the door. Sorry, we'll draw in the window casing. In this case, it would not be dashed line, so actually I'm going to draw the window next. Depending on how fancy you want to get with this, these windows actually probably look sort of like this. This is the vertical part of the frame that I'm drawing right now. I think that's in the right place. Oops. Seems like that should be centered. You may have to look at the window in 2D to see what it, or in 3D actually, to see what it, where these pieces should actually be. I'll go ahead and make these 40. I'm going to mirror this. And then we're going to actually draw the bottom. Windows don't have dashed lines because they actually have, they're not open clear to the floor. So that's basically the window sill. And I think that should do it. So if we exit that, oh, and I missed part of them. So double click back to that. I just need to put this rectangle in. So this is the window, and then these are the upright parts of the window frame. That's what the dark is. So if we go back to the top here. So those dark parts represented this and this. And I had one in the center. I guess there isn't one in the center. What I was really seeing was this. Right, so there really should just be frame, space, frame. So if we go back to the top, we can easily edit that. Double click 2D component. So we just need to take this out. So it really looks like that. Then if we insert this into our test wall, we can put it right there. Go to front, and we'll see that that looks pretty good. We have the same problem with our hole, so we need to go back to front here and right click and edit the 3D wall component. Go to top, draw the rectangle, extrude it. Our window was 6 feet 8 or 8 feet 6, maybe 8 feet 6. And 3/4, I think, to account for the frame. So actually, it should go up to there, and yeah, okay, all that's right. So it covers the frame of the door casing, the window casing. Sorry. And then if we go back to here, you'll see that it is inserted properly. I guess technically it should fill in around the casing there, because the in the way this has been modeled, at least the window sill is doesn't go all the way through, although it probably should. But since that's the way the model's drawn, we're just going to edit this and set it so that it goes to there. And then if we want to, later on, you'll just want to know that you can move this up in the wall. I can't remember exactly where it goes. So I'm going to say for right now 24 inches. And you have to do that individually every time you insert it, but I just wanted to move that up to make sure that it is in fact in the right place. So that is how we create symbols that are insertable into the wall, look correct in 3D, and also look correct in 2D. Next we'll work on the columns. So I'm gonna just move my wall with the door and the window out of the way a little bit. The columns are actually relatively easy. It's in 3 pieces. There's a center sweep, and then there's a top and bottom extruded along path, because the center is round and the top and the bottom are square. So there's a file in WebCourses called Column Profile, I think, that you can import. It's a PDF. I need to clean my desktop. Hotel column profile, there we go. And I want to set this to snap to geometry, which will make it all easier. So you bring that in. And then the next thing is you need to use the polygon tool to rough in the three shapes, and they're in three different pieces. And then we'll reshape them to add in all the curves. So the first thing I'm going to do is just rough in all of the shapes. Then I'm going to set all three of these to have no fill so that I can work with them more easily. And then I'll use the reshape tool, set on adding curve, to go in and reshape to add all of the curves. And once that's done, I can delete the PDF. Next, we'll make all of these solid. And then we'll sweep the center shaft. And go to isometric. And we're going to do an extrude along path for the top and the bottom, and we just need a rectangle, a square. So I'm going to use the square set to its second mode, center mode, and I'm going to draw a square on the top of the column. It doesn't really matter what size the square is, it can be any size. And I'm going to select the square and the profile and do a model extrude along path. Making sure to set the square as the path and clicking fix profile. And if we go back to front, we have that. We're going to do the same thing on the bottom. Let's see if I can tilt this that way. Look, yes I can. All right, so we'll use the square. And you'll notice I have automatic working plane turned on here. The bottom of my column is turning purple. Draw any size square, and profile, model, extrude along path. Make sure the square is the path, and go to front. And there we have it. The second to last step in the column is to apply some textures, and then we'll turn it into a 2D, 3D hybrid. So the base of this is the marble from last week's project. If you happen to have that file open, you can use it. Otherwise, we're looking for a stone Arrowway marble gray 04. So marble gray 04. Looks like I have several of them because I have several files open. So, but that's the one. All right. So that's the bottom. The center shaft is Arrowway Stone 2. So if we do Arrowway Arrow 2 R's, ARROWAY Stone 2. Stone 002. There we go. Interesting. Arrowway Stone 002. Sandstone. There that is. And then for the top of the column, we're going to create a custom texture sort of based on a standard texture. So we want to, this is because this is just paint at the top, it's not stone. So we're going to do a search for almond paint. and you'll notice that I have a bunch of them. This is the original, the original Vectorworks texture. So you should take that and import it into your file. Textures, scenery, okay. And then in your texture scenery folder, you have the almond paint. We're gonna edit it and just make it a little darker by changing the color to the third one here, I think. That seems right. If we select this and then double click, yeah, that's the color. We'll be using that same paint color on some of the other walls in the model, and there are 3 different shades of basically white or off-white in the model. So that is the column. Then we just need to convert this into a 2D, 3D symbol. So if we go to top, if we draw this circle, and then this rectangle, oops, I'm still set to center mode. Back to corner mode, this rectangle, send that to back. And then we should set the fill of the shaft here to 40, and then select all of it and do a model. Sorry, I'm doing it again. I modify, create symbol, hotel column. This does not want to be inserted into walls, and the insertion point should be the plan projection center, i.e. the center of the column. The other things you can leave the same. Put it in the scenery symbols folder. And there is our column symbol. So that concludes what we're doing in this file. You should save this as something. I've saved it as doors. Well, it should be saved as doors in Windows, not doors in Windows test, but anyway, whatever. We're going to jump back to the other file, last week's file, and work on the molding on the arch walls. And then when we're done with that, we'll open this file back up and copy the doors and the windows and the columns and paste them into that file. But so for right now, we're done with this particular file. Okay, here we are back in the file for last week's project, and what we're going to do now is to create this molding, the curved molding, and also the square molding on the top here that's on the arched walls. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to top, or I'm going to go to top, I'm going to go to top, third time's the charm, and then isometric, and I want to edit this group that we have that has the 4 symbols of the arches in it, and I'm going to select this one. I want to edit this 3D symbol, and I want to edit the 3D part of it. So I'm going to go into here, and then I want to go to the front view of that. So what we need to do is lay out some circles. So we'll use the circle tool set to the diameter mode, and on the working plane of the arch here. Actually, you know what? Let's just turn off automatic working plane and do screen align. It's just going to be easier, and we can move it later. we're going to fill in the 3 arches with circles. And then use the offset tool, set to 5 inches, to create circles that are 5 inches larger. So there's that. And then I'm going to use a command on the Mac to select this one and do that and that. And then I'm going to do this again, only I want 10 inches bigger. So now that, and that. Oops, that didn't take. That, there we go, okay. Next, what I want to do is establish a line. Actually, I think I could just use this point here. So I want to use what we just did to create a guideline to create a polyline. So I'm going to use the polyline tool, and I'm going to start here where this larger circle intersects the bottom of the arch, and I'm going to go from that point to the point where the 2 large circles intersect, and to where the next 2 large circles intersect, and then finally over here. Then I can use the reshape tool, set to add the radius points to align these with the larger circles. So that should end up looking like that. And then I can delete the larger circles. Now I'm going to draw a line at the bottom of the arches and move it up 5 inches. So I can use that as a reference point here. So I will do the same thing again. I'll start drawing a polyline here where the smaller arch, or the smaller circle intersects the bottom of the arch. So from there to this intersection here with the smaller circle and the line that I just drew, and then the next one over, and the next one over, and that one, and then finally this point here, and double click. So then we'll use the reshape tool again to it just got rid of one of my points. You saw me put it there. I know you did. So we're going to put that point there. And there. Then back to adding radius so that we can do that and that. Now we can delete all of the original circles and this line. And we can exit the symbol and the group and go back to top view and then front, and we want to grab this shape and copy it, and then we're going to go back into our group and then back into editing our symbol. And we're going to go to front. And we want to set all of these fills to none. And then let's just see where these actually are. these are, so if I go to 4, so right now they're in the center of the arch. I'm going to, with them all selected, grab them and move them to the front of the arch. And then back to front view. And then I'm going to paste in the molding shape and duplicate it. And then we can use it, one of them, to extrude along path without the profile fixed. And there's that. And then we can do this one. Extrude along path. Okay. And if we go to, we're going to exit the symbol. Somehow these symbols got flipped when, maybe in last week's project we turned them the wrong way. I'm not sure. I mean, we can fix this. We can flip horizontal, but this is a little strange. So let's I think at this point, you see what I'm talking about, right? That the molding is supposed to be on the inside, and it's on the inside of 2 of them and on the outside of the other 2. So modify, rotate, flip horizontal. And we may also have, because it's accounting for the molding when it's flipping horizontal, it actually moved this away from where it goes. So we just need to make sure that we're lined up again. Modify, rotate, flip vertical. And then it's going to need a little bit of alignment as well. So there, now we have everything is on the inside where it belongs. Let's take a look and see where we are. Okay. You'll notice this is too big. That was on purpose. I deliberately, we've got to miter this molding, so just to make sure that we went far enough so that it would get past the corner, I just went really far. So we're going to go back to our original symbol. We're going to double click. We're going to go into edit it. We're going to go to top. And then what we need is to create a miter right here. You'll notice, however, that the molding is not lined up with the face of the wall. So we're going to switch to left view in order to solve that. And the reason that this happened is because when we extrude without fixing the profile, it extrudes in the center of the line. So we just, even though we had the line on the front of the wall, it extruded to the center of the line. So now we need to move it back to the front face of the wall. So now that that's lined up, we'll switch back to front and then to top. Now it's where it belongs. So now we're going to create a miter right here. So we're going to create a shape at a 45-degree angle. That is large enough to cut this molding. And I did it over here out of the way on purpose because it was not being pleasant to me letting me do where I wanted to do it. So what I want to do here is line this up with the corner right here where this arch and this arch intersect. And I want to make sure that it's big enough to cover all of the molding that's sticking out over here. Then we're going to use the mirror tool to mirror that across the center so that it is there, and then select both of those. Extrude them at 3 feet, I think sounds like a good plan. And go to front, grab them, hold down shift, and move them up. 3 feet, in fact, may not be enough. So let's just go that high. I need to get it past this point right here, so that if we go into here, you can see what's going on. So if we select that and the 2 pieces of, actually we can only do one at a time, and the one of the pieces of molding, and do a model subtract solids, and we want to retain the subtracting solid because we want to use it again. Okay, and then do the other one. Subtract solids. And this time we don't have to retain it because we'll be done with it. Okay, and then exit that symbol. Now you'll see that they miter nicely together in the corner. So now to work on the molding that is the top molding. Because it's just a bunch of rectangles, which I'm sure that you can all draw by this point, it is also in the file of the molding. So if you select all of this stuff and copy it, and then go back into our group, and then back into our symbol, and draw a line from here to here. And then let's just see where that is. That's in the center. We want to move that so that it's right here on the face of the wall. Back to front. Paste in your shapes. Select that line. And the shapes. Do a extrude along path. Go left. Make sure that that's lined up with the top of the wall. So, and we don't need to miter this because it's all square, and so it just, I mean, if you want to be really precise, you can miter it, but you can't tell that it's not mitered because it intersects itself, so it's going to be fine without the miter. If we exit here, you can see, maybe if I give you the right view, that there that molding is. And then the last thing we need to do with the molding is to add these dentils in. So we'll go back inside our group and then back inside our symbol. Go to front, and now we're going to go to wireframe. Then we're going to create a rectangle that is 7 inches wide and 4.5 inches tall, 4.5. And then we're going to put it right here. And then we need 7, then we're going to move it over 12 inches. Move 12 inches. And then we need 17 of them, so I'm going to duplicate. So this is 2, and I can just randomly put that right there, it's fine. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. This one I'm going to line up here and then move it back 12 inches. So minus 12 inches. Then we want to select all of them. Make sure you've got 17. Modify align distribute, and we're going to distribute them horizontally by their spacing, and we're going to align them vertically by their bottom. So if we click OK, you should end up with that. Then we're going to extrude them 6 inches. That was a 9, not a 6. 6. Then we're going to go to left and put them right here, which is where they actually go. And then if we look here and go back to OpenGL, we should have dentils. So then the last part of our molding here is just to apply some texture. So we're going to find the almond paint again. Whoa. Almond paint. That was weird. This is the one that we just created that's in the other file if you still have that one open. This is the original. Doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. I'm gonna just grab the one that we already had and import it into the scenery textures. And then I'm gonna go to the home and go to scenery textures and duplicate the almond paint. So we've got almond paint 2, and almond paint, we're gonna end up with 3 of them. Nope, duplicate. All right, so almond paint's gonna be the darkest one. Then we're gonna edit 2 and make it lighter. So it's this color. It's the 4th one from the top. And then this one we're going to make basically white. We're going to use 10% gray. Okay, so then the wall itself is going to get the 2. All of the molding is going to get the 3, just the lighter version. And then we've already applied the 1 to the top of the columns. That is the that's the 3rd one. And so when we import the columns, that'll make sense. Okay, so we're going to exit that. Going to go back to top. We're going to look at the camera. Activate camera view and see where we stand. Okay, not too bad. Let's look at our original. So now, actually, we should go ahead and apply that same color. So I'm going to go back to the top. I should apply that same color at this point to these walls. So almond paint 2. And just to make sure, in object info, we're going to apply it to the left. And also the right. Where are you? There. Okay. Back to here. Then I think we'll put, I'm going to say, if we'll put the columns in, and then we'll call it a week. We'll insert, there we go. Insert the doors and windows next week. It's a 5-minute process, but I don't want to push my luck right now. It's just, as you've probably been able to tell, this project's been a little rough for me. So, and by association, it has probably been rough for you too. So I'm going to go back to my earlier file from today, whatever you called it. I'm going to copy the columns. I'm going to go back into this week's file, and I'm going to paste. It's going to ask me it's going to tell me I already have a stone marble 4. What I want to do is not import the one I already have. I just want to I want to switch out the one in the column to the one that I've already been using. So I'm going to place this column right here. And then I'm going to go to front and make sure, and wireframe, and make sure that it's actually sitting on the ground and that the columns are in fact sitting on top of it. And look, yes, they are. So then I can copy that and paste it in, Command V, to the center of all of the places where it's supposed to be. Okay, let's take a look at the camera, see what we have. So we're getting close. We're gonna stop at this point for this week. So next week we'll finish this up. We'll put the doors and windows in. We'll add the there's a ceiling that you can't quite see, but that it keeps the light out to this, and then we'll do a little more texturing and add some lighting, and we have a couple of little architectural things we have to add over here to the other side of the columns, but they're just based on these. So I think this is a good place to stop. So if you will just export this view as a PDF, you can either put it in a viewport and save it, or you can just print this right to PDF, because this is not a finished thing. This is just a working file. You might take this opportunity to see if you can render it. I don't know if you'll be able to. Some of you will, some of you won't. We haven't lit it yet, obviously, but let's just see where we stand with the rendering. And of course, just the way this is going today, the arches are being segmented. That's a setting I need to track down. So it seems like a good place to stop. All right, thanks. I'll see you next week.